travelers, and welcome to Season 5 of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. We are so excited to be back to recording, and we have a season packed with chaos, lore, and hopefully a ton of laughs, but probably some tears because you know how this game works. This week, we are going to be talking about the Summertide Scales and Tales event, aka this summer's summer event.
Looking to escape into a fantastical realm? We'll get sucked into our website at talesofteyvat.com, where each episode has its own dedicated page with visuals curated for your enjoyment by Tiff.
While you're on our site, be sure to check out our past seasons and special episodes, along with some other goodies.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you want to see in the future. This episode, though, has been highly, highly requested. And honestly, before we even saw the requests, we knew we had to talk about it.
Yeah, it was the best summer event, lore-wise.
I was going to say, was it the best summer event?
It was the best. I mean, there was a bunch of animals that were origami. So yes, it was. Screw the story. Did you see the little toy guys? They were so cute. Flying squirrels.
I feel like it might be the summer event with like the biggest impact to the main story.
That's a good point, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't like seeing Kazuha drunk at Angel Share? That wasn't like canon important lore for you?
I mean, Venti's cat allergy is definitely up there in importance. But, you know, it's just like, it's in a different way. It's just, it's significant in a very different way.
You're like, why does Venti keep playing at Cat's Tail? I don't understand.
Right. You know, I mean, is that as important as Durin being possibly resurrected? Probably, but I think it's like more on the outskirts of what most people think about.
So what you're saying is that we have different scales of what's important?
Yes, they're summertide scales, you might say.
Yeah, some may say.
I hate it. So before we jump into anything with this event, I have one question for you guys, and I don't want you guys to like deep dive into it or anything, but what was like the single thing that really stuck out to you in this event? Like what did you come away from and it was like the first thing you had to say to a friend who when they finished the event?
Durin.
Just a Durin.
Yeah.
Mini Durin, real IRL Durin. Yeah, that was the big thing to me.
Yeah, I would have to agree on that. But I want to say that if I actually think back to doing it and being excited when a couple people were doing it that I was really waiting to gush about was the fact that I was going to get stuff for my teapot.
Oh my God, Tiff over here is like, is Kaveh, you know, like...
I couldn't wait. I was like, oh my God, did you see you get the little balls? And then you get like a little thing and then you get them and you put them in your teapot and they're on a little bench and it's awesome. Yeah, that was
oh my God,
literally probably the first thing that I talked about when I knew that somebody finished it. And then I was like, oh shit, and Durin.
All I could think about was what Albedo's face must have looked like when he found out there was a Durin. He probably was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like that slow turnaround you see in horror movies. Like, I just imagine him being like, what is behind me? And he's like, oh my God.
And I'm sure by oh my God, it was like, oh, because he doesn't get excited about anything.
No, he went, that's my brother. And then Klee was like, Durin, you're like my big brother. And I also was like, Albedo's dying on the inside. He's like, big brother, I'm big brother. You know, he starts to like break out in a cold sweat.
He's like, is that all it takes?
But it does. It seriously does. Not to jump ahead, but she does say that. She's like, hey, you're my big brother because our moms were friends. And I was like, oh.
I mean, that's the logic for Albedo being her big brother too, because Durin and Albedo have the same mom. Well, I guess not in this situation. But before we jump too far into that, I think there's a few things we should recap before we jump into the walkthrough of the event. And the first would be the 3 Hexenzirkel witches that are going to be some of our characters here.
I think first we should actually just remind people who the heck the Hexenzirkel is.
The Hexenzirkel is a group of powerful witches in Teyvat. And that's all we know.
Yeah, they seem to pop up in interesting places or get brought up in interesting places.
Imaginarium theater.
Yeah, now they're a big part of Imaginarium Theater. And, I feel like while we don't know that much about them, they're going to end up being a pretty big deal, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just knowing that Alice is one of them and that Gold, aka Daughter, aka the Great Sinner, aka one of the 5 sinners of Conria is also one of them.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Thank God Gold doesn't come up in this event. They quite literally avoided bringing her up, it felt like. And I was like, thank the Archons.
Yeah, I think there's one line and that's it.
They're like, it's our summer event. We're trying to keep it cheerful.
Yeah.
So the first Hexenzirkel witch that gets mentioned is our favorite KFC lore expert, Alice.
Please, Mom.
Also known as A. And she has 85 other titles.
Yes. Codename the letter A.
It's like Pretty Little Liars. Alice is known as the goddess of creation in the summer event. And that's really all you need to know. Oh, and that she's a lamp at one point.
Yeah.
That bitch is always a lamp.
And it still surprised Paimon.
It's literally the second time we've seen her or the third time we've seen her as a lamp. And the time before that, she was like a phonograph, which was lamp adjacent, really.
Yeah.
Paimon shook every time.
Yeah, every single time. It was a beautiful lamp, though, this time, I have to say.
It really makes you wonder about we'll get there, but it makes you wonder about the nature of Teyvat's reality when you're comparing it with the lamp that's into that.
But before we jump into that, then we have our second witch, who is Barbaloth, aka codename B, not to be confused with Brandon, also named the Old Hag, may be confused with Brandon.
Yes. A lot of people have made that similarity. I am often mistaken for an old hag, so...
Oh my God. I do also like though that somebody, I think it's the next one that you'll introduce, I believe refers to her as Barbie. And I was like, Barbie?
She's like, Barbie's always so serious. I was like,
Old hag and Barbie. Not really.
Hi, Barbie.
Yeah.
Hi, Barbie. Old hag, aka Barbaloth, aka B, aka Barbie, is also aka Mona's master, who apparently had a fashionista phase.
Yes.
And she is the goddess of prophecy in Simulanka.
Yeah.
And last, but certainly not least, because I think it made me a little emotional, honestly, we have Anya M. Anders' daughter, not to be confused with Anya from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
She seems a lot nicer than that Anya.
I don't know. That Anya is pretty just sex driven right now.
Yeah. I do have to, just as a side note, I have to say that it has been quite entertaining that Anya has gotten confused in our chats. It was like, wait, do you mean Buffy?
Right.
Which Anya are you talking about? Because these are both important to my life right now.
Yeah.
But Anya M. Andersdotter goes by M because Alice took A, which is a little contentious with them. Because Anya thinks her name starts and ends with A, so she should have gotten A. Alice said, nah, bitch, you get M because it's your middle name.
Meanwhile, Alice is like Madonna. She just has the one name. It's just Alice.
And M is the author of The Boar Princess, which is a story from Mondstadt that we have read. And, you run into the Boar King out in Dragonspine. It's scary. And the Boar Princess kind of lives in the paintings, it seems, of the Imaginarium Theater. It's a little spooky.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of Boar Princess artwork hanging up, mystical artwork, sort of decorating the Imaginarium Theater.
Every time you say borking, though, I hear borking.
Like a dog. Bork.
Borking. Bark.
Not all of us barking.
We're all barking, actually.
Welcome to season 5.
Don't you sound like the seagulls in Finding Nemo when they're like, mine.
But in this world, M is known as the goddess of fate, not Faith, which is also a character in Buffy.
We find out too that side of the Boar Princess, they write a lot.
Too much. They're full of themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, they're like a little literary master over there. I thought that was interesting. Everybody has their own little thing, and M's is that she just writes stories.
And it's important to know too that Anya is currently dead.
Yes.
Yes.
Just so everyone knows. they were, I guess, human. I don't know. Like, they just didn't have the same mortality as the other witches. And so she passed away quite a few years ago, if not hundreds of years ago.
Her husband died too, or her betrothed?
I would assume he's also dead.
Not like old age.
Yeah, I just assume anyone's partner is probably dead.
Yeah. How many partners do you think Alice has had?
One and only Clee's dad, because he's amazing. Clee's words, not mine.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. She's been going to KFC a lot. I think that's like her first date spot.
She's like shacking up with some human man.
She's shacking up with the Colonel.
Oh my God.
Colonel Sanders, Clee's dad.
And after the McDonald's collab, who knows? Maybe Alice is also with Ronald.
Oh, I was going to go Grimace.
Oh
Wow.
my God, Tiff, not Grimace.
Grimace is the best one.
Leave Grimace to the Mets.
To the what?
The Mets, the New York Mets, the baseball team. He's been very involved in their stuff.
When people bring up sports, my brain just doesn't comprehend what the words are. I'm just like, oh, you're speaking a different language, huh? Excuse you.
I forget why Grimace got involved in the Mets. It was like he showed up to a game and then they had a winning streak. And everyone was like, it's because of Grimace. And people started like dressing up as him and going to the games. It was wild.
Oh, interesting. Well,
That's
I
fantastic.
think she's shacking up with a Hamburglar.
No.
Oh, the Hamburglar.
I mean, listen, she spends a lot of time around people that wear big hats. So that's just what she found familiar, like she's just sort of drawn to that naturally.
I hate it. So she's not with Wendy.
No, Hamburglar.
Hamburglar. Got it. What about the Burger King? He has quite a large hat.
He has a large head.
A large head, yeah, with a crown.
That's true. That doesn't count, does it?
That's probably who Gold would go after.
Albedo doesn't need him as a stepfather. He's creepy. But anywho, Alice's love life aside, those are the 3 witches of the Hexenzirkel that are going to be pretty important for this episode. Don't worry about the others for today. We also have a cast of characters that we run into during the summer event, because every summer event would not be complete without bringing a random mishmash of characters that have mostly never met before and throwing them into an unknown new world.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of characters we meet later on, but the main characters that we re-meet are Nilu, my okay-ish friend.
You're working on your relationship.
Yeah, we're working on it. Navia, Kirara, our mail lady, Durin, and Wanderer. So a quick recap on those people. Nilu is from Sumeru. She is the person whose dream we were all in when the Subaru's festival went on for 9,000 years. And she is a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Did nothing else, got invited to the dinner. Navia.
Wow.
She
Not
just
that you're bitter.
distracted the Millilith. So this way,
The Millilith is in leeway.
And what?
The Millilith is in leeway.
Oh shit. Well, her dancing was so good. She distracted the Millilith.
All the way
Oh
from
my
the shade
God.
chamber. I mean, the shade chamber.
People are like spreading like photos of her around Leeway Harbor. Like,
Yeah.
check this out.
Oh my God.
Someone just pulls out an iPhone and is like, watch this video. They're like, wait, what is this device?
Is the Millilith in Inazuma too? What are they called there?
No.
What are they called
No.
there though? What are the
They have different names everywhere. They're like, it's like the Tenryou Commission, the Shogunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Inuzuma's the Shogunate. In Mondstadt, it's the Knights. Leeway is Millilith. Sumeru is the corpse of whatever.
The Core of 30 on behalf of the academia.
On behalf, and the Matra. They're technically the police too, right?
Yeah, the mantra is, that's the proper way to say it, I'm sure.
And then you have in Fontaine the Melazines.
The guardianage.
Yeah.
I just knew I couldn't pronounce it. And in that line, I don't know what we have. Do we have guards? We just have the children of the tribes, it feels like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know what they're called in Natlan yet.
Well, there's no major city so far either, so it's a little confusing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one area where Mavwika hangs out it's kind of like a city.
I mean, it's a stadium.
Yeah.
With shops. It's like Tiff's going to a Red Bulls game.
Yep.
It's kind of wild.
It is. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, sorry, Natlon getting distracted. So we have Nilu, blah. Then we have Navia.
Yeah.
She is from Fontaine. She is the leader of the Spina de Rusola. The Spina de
Rusola. Wait. Where does she live, though?
Poisson.
And the other place?
The Fleuve Leandre.
The Fleuve Saint-Jean.
Listen, I wrote it down somewhere in my notes properly.
I can't say them either, so.
Spina de Rizzula, whatever. She is badass and cool. She has an umbrella gun and sunglasses. Then we have Kirara, our resident mail delivery lady here at Tales of Teyvat. She is from Inazuma. She is a yokai.
She's FedEx.
Yeah.
Then we have Durin. Durin. This Durin's a little different, but just some backstory on alternate universe Durin, aka the Durin in Teyvat. Durin was a dragon. We assume that Gold plucked his conscience out of the abyss, created a dragon. Everyone thought Durin was evil, but he was just a little child who wanted to play. He thought he was playing with Dvalin. Instead, he tried to kill Dvalin. And in turn, Dvalin and Venti killed him. And he then landed on Dragonspine, where his heart still beats to this day. And his blood circulates in the mountain, creating evil monsters.
And that's Dragonspine.
That's Dragonspine. I know, why did we do a whole episode on Dragonspine? That's all we needed.
Yeah, that's all you needed, yeah.
And then, last but not least, you have Wander, aka Scaramouche, aka Kuni, aka Kyo if you're in my world.
Known here as Hat Guy.
No, also known as Hat Guy, man.
Yeah.
So funny that they just call him Hat Guy still.
Yeah, and they call him that a lot throughout this whole event. It's very funny.
Yeah, nobody calls him Wanderer at all.
That's like his, I'm a wandering spirit. That was just their excuse to let us name him so that we would connect with him more and like him better. So anyone who was anti-wanderer because they didn't like Skara, that made you like them more because you feel like you have a say in who he is now.
Right.
Unless you're Brandon, who named him Weasel.
I stand by that. He's still kind of an asshole. I mean, let's be real.
Yes. But it's what makes him lovable.
They did a great job in this event of using Durin as a device to tell a redemption story for Wanderer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As much as they're doing a redemption story for Durin at the same time.
They mirror each other like Teyvat mirrors Simulanka, which is perfect. But Wanderer, for those of you who need a quick recap, used to be Scaramouche, aka the Balladeer, one of the Fatui Harbingers, because everyone in this name has at least 13 names.
Mm-hmm.
When he was Scaramouche, he killed Tepe by giving him a delusion. We fought him in the delusion factory. He later tried to become a real god, a real boy, whatever you want, over in Sumeru. And we said, nah, man, and we stopped that from happening. Later on, Nihida said, you're under my care now, boy. And she locked him away, balled and chained him to be by her side. And he decided that when he was in Irminsul helping Nihida, he would also delete himself from existence in Irminsul. Hence why he got a new color theme to him.
Mm-hmm. A new element.
A new element. He got an actual vision instead of just trying to use a gnosis that wasn't his.
I love it that he became Animo and it was like he was his own dead best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he already had a dead best friend, sort of, but it was just funny that he came back as Animo after deleting himself.
I love that, though. You're trying to find yourself. Sometimes you got to kill off your past self now. Mm-hmm. You should accept all versions of yourself, guys. But those are our main characters in this event. We do run into some other familiar faces down the road, but they're really not important to the story. They just give us some fun things. Except for Albedo, he kind of says something important. As per usual.
I was going to say, he could have said, hey, this tonic was really delicious. And you would have been like, this was the most important part.
tell you, if this bitch had said this, the CMYK printer toner talks was good, I would have been like, all right, we got an issue here.
I mean, chalk and ink,
No, I refuse. Anyway, so basically one day the traveler is walking through Mondstadt when they see a book. And this book is over by Good Hunter. And they go up to the book and they touch the book and they just want to like go through the pages. And all of a sudden we wake up in an unusual world.
Made of paper. We wake up in Paper Mario.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never thought of that. That's amazing. And this is where Tiff like fell in love.
Yeah, because one of the first things that we do when we go there is we see a pair of origami frogs talking to one another. And I was like, they're so cute. They're kind of like a little Abbott and Costello kind of like pair. One's trying to remind the other how to jump. And it's like, you're a frog and you're origami. What do you mean? And one of them, it's Firecracker and Stream are their names. And Stream is all washed out. That's the one thing that you can notice about him is he has no color, bro. Firecracker is still, beautiful.
Haven't either of you ever played a game called Ni no Kuni?
No.
Or seen the animated film?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say that because Ni no Kuni 1 and 2 that I played on PlayStation are like among my favorite adventure games that I've played. They're really excellent. If you ever see the either one for cheap or for free, snatch it up. I immediately got like Ni no Kuni vibes from this realm.
Ooh, okay.
And it was interesting because I also noticed when we went to Natland that the music in Natland also reminds me a lot of the music in Ni no Kuni. And Ni no Kuni's composer worked on, I think, almost all of the Miyazaki films.
Okay.
So just like a lot of brass and like horns, but like everything is like majestic and adventurous sounding. I don't know how much of the music of Natland you've sort of been hearing as you're like playing through the content, but it definitely has like a different kind of vibe than the other regions so far.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it feels a little more Miyazaki, but it was just an interesting thing where I was like, oh, this summer event realm reminds me of Ni no Kuni, and then we get to Natland, and then the music reminds me of Ni no Kuni. So I think the universe is just trying to tell me to play Ni no Kuni.
I think so.
Or they're just they were teasing us. They're so smart,
Yeah, it was before Natland came out. It was kind of laying those little groundworks on there.
I mean, even though it's like Paper Mario, it's very like childlike, magical adventure vibes, which they always try to do something more kind of family-ish, I feel like, for the summer events. Sort of like Bottle Land was kind of like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
They just try to make it more childlike, I think, to like instill a sense of wonder. So yeah, I really appreciate that they do that for every summer event.
Well, also, typically these summer events are Klee-centric. And so it makes sense that they're child.
Yeah, this was the first one that wasn't really Klee-centric.
Right. And so it kind of threw me at first when I was like, oh, Klee's not here. Why is it still so childlike? Because a lot of times it's like Alice doing something for her kids. So like it all makes sense that why we're going where we're going. But this was the first time I was like, huh.
Yeah, I feel like the residents of Simulanka sort of took the place of the Klee role because they're all just very like innocent, like dirt, like trying to figure out why things are going wrong.
Yeah.
And their little magical kingdom.
Which, if the frogs weren't enough for you, the next thing you do is you run into a hamster, an origami hamster named Almond.
No.
And he is adorable as well. We refer to him as Grandpa Almond, and he says some of the cutest shit. I think at one point he says, "Oh, my paper mache." Like he's like cursing with regular paper words. It's so cute.
It's amazing.
But he's the one who actually tells us too that he's waiting for the hero to save them, to save them all. And we're like, "Why do you need a hero?" And he's like, "I don't really know." I just know that I'm supposed to be standing here waiting for the hero, and that has to be you because hey, you showed up. And it's so wild because we assume too, yeah, sure, okay, we're always the hero, we might as well be the hero in this little world as well. And he kind of gives us a little thing about the goddesses and stuff and lets us know that kind of what we had already gone through, the goddess creation, prophecy, and fate, and gives us a quick little rundown of thing, and then tells us though that there was a dragon, an evil dragon that has that attacked the forest where we are. Because of that, the calligraphy tavern stopped working, and all the other paper animals, they're starting to go gray and crumbly, like dried out paper would be without fresh ink.
Mood.
so true.
They're aging without their magic tonic.
I hate it.
But it's also making them forget, which is why he doesn't remember exactly how he got to where he's there, but that he's waiting for a hero. He doesn't remember much other than that. So he's just like, but there's something going on and we need to fix it. And that's why you're here. So do it.
One of my favorite parts of this whole event, and I know it's such a small thing, but he's like, yeah, the cat tavern closed, and without it, we're all going to die. That's basically like what he says. And Paimon's like, you know, if this was Mondstadt, I think I could understand.
Yeah.
What? And she's like, this doesn't make sense. It was amazing.
And the thing that he says, the paper mache one, is stop talking a load of paper mache, which I need to remember because I'm just going to randomly say that to you one day.
No.
You just stop talking a load of paper mache.
I'm going to start throwing Mora at her everywhere I go. But so we decide that we're gonna try to help out, and Amon tells us about the forest fairy and how we should go like check in with her. And the forest fairy ends up being Nilu.
Because why not?
Your favorite.
Yeah, and listen, I was trying to be nice, Brandon. I didn't bring anything up.
We could feel it though through the computer.
Oh no.
Just the glare glaring into your microphone.
We find Nilu, and she's in a beautiful dress and fit, not gonna lie, and she hugs us.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically says that she woke up in this area and that she heard a voice telling her that she had to save the forest people with her magic. But she has no idea what the fuck that means. She's very confused. She's trying to reopen the tavern, but she's really not sure how to use her magic.
It was nice of her to like have no idea what's going on, but still trying to help these characters. Like, I'll do what I can, but no idea how.
Like, that was her first thing, wasn't let me see how I can get back home. It was like, well, these guys need some help, so.
She's like, maybe I can save them with the power of dance.
Oh my god, no, you sound like freaking Hugh Laurie as the cockroach in Monsters vs. Aliens. He's like, my PhD is in dance.
You know, when I'm not being called an old hag, I often am called a cockroach. So that makes so much sense.
No, Brandon, no. I'm sorry. Today's not my day with you. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's fair.
I'm trying not to target Nilu. And it's hacking you by accident. Sorry. Someone had to be a victim of it.
It's understandable.
Nice little Nilo, though, was doing some research and trying to figure out like stuff and found out that the goddess folded books to make all the little origami guys. And we're like, well, how did they do that? And she says the goddess plays fast and loose with the details. It's just like, I am not really sure. I just know that she made origami.
Yeah.
And so somehow or another, Nilu reaches deep within her and figures out a way to use her magic. And she makes a hamster using these origami methods that Tiff just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And after she makes this hamster, she could just feel the magic everywhere in the forest. It's like she just did LSD and she could see it.
It was a little off-putting, wasn't it? Like, I just like created someone.
Yeah, it's weird.
I had this, like, even watching it, my first thought was because, like, you know, you see her she's obviously being a little, like, flouncy because she's the dancer. But in my head, I was seeing, like, Cinderella when she gets changed into her ball gown and stuff, and it's all, like, swirly, and she's like, look at me.
Well, it's weird because we find out that Simulanka is really like a mirror version of Teyvat in a way, like poured through the filter of this like story that Anders' daughter wrote. But then it's like all the roles are different in Simulanka compared to like what actually happens in Teyvat. And then they add this extra layer now with Nilu where it's like, you know, Nilu is almost like gold in a way where she's like able to use sort of like alchemy to create a person on top of the layer of like the version, like the goddess in Simulanka, like the Hexenzirkel witch in Simulanka that would normally be gold, and Teyvat is sort of alluded to be Anders' daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, no, I guess it would be Alice is like playing the role of gold, right?
Oh,
she
yes.
created everything.
Creation, yeah.
So it's just interesting. There's like all these like parallels happening simultaneously. So, but I did think it was a little creepy that Nilu just created a being that's alive.
I laughed at the fact that she called the hamster Putty Sarah.
I was like, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I've read too many fanfics. You can't just call a hamster that.
Did it remind you of Ruan May and Star Rail Feeney?
A little, yeah. That crazy bitch who makes the cat pillows.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of that. Yeah.
She's so creepy, but lovable, I think.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Ruin May is like, I gave you a dessert that will make you forget everything by the time I want you to forget everything. And I'm like, oh, okay, when is that?
Definitely giving very like Hexenzirkel vibes.
Oh my God, stop. Ruin May. She's one of them. But anyway, so Nilu creates a being and then is like, I can feel the magic of the forest.
All of a sudden, this became like a horror. I can feel it. It's all mine. Except for this one transparent bottle underneath the calligraphy tavern. There's a void.
There's a void, yes. And we have to investigate and figure out how to bring it back. Like, how are we going to bring the magic back to the tavern? And they do. It's like a really annoying process, but we do it. I totally zoned out while playing that part. I was just like, fixing the pipes. Got it.
You're fixing pipes. You're picking up sunsettias. Your things are going doop, doop, doop through the little path of stuff. But I also like that at this point, though, too, while all of this is going on, like Paimon just goes, you know what? I don't think we're the heroes. We didn't get a change of clothes.
Yes, Paimon is like suggesting the truth.
And Grandpa Almond's still like, no, you are. It is. You still are. But then like Paimon's also like, well, while we fix these pipes and we make this magic tonic that you guys want to drink, she's like, maybe I could try it. And of course we're like, really, Paimon, you're going to take the people's magic tonic? They're turning to dust. And you're like, let me try that shit. And she is disgusted because it's ink.
But most importantly, before she drinks it, she goes, it's not greed, it's curiosity. And then she drinks the magic tonic.
And she is very upset that she tried that magic tonic. It's disgusting because it's ink. They make ink. That's what brings them all back to their little colors and stuff. And it's cute, except when you're drinking it yourself.
Disgusting. So we're like, thank God this is done. What's next? And Amon tells us that we need to seek counsel at the Astral Garden, which is in Constellation Metropole, which is basically the city. And we head to the city. We take a cute as fuck train called the Maritime Express. There's a little like driver. He has a duck. You can touch the duck. The duck is not happy.
The duck is not happy, but they let you touch the duck as much as you want to. And he's just like, quack, like, stop it. I touched the duck a lot.
Also, as we're getting ready to board the train, we get scared because who's there but Kirara sleeping? And she's basically like, oh, hey guys, I found a book and I went to fall asleep on it. And next thing I knew, I was here. So I curled up in a ball and I slept on this train. So no one has cared so far that they're in a new world at all.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
She's just like, oh, look, and I'm here.
Now, is this the part or is it later when there's like this whole awkward moment of like, don't worry, I'm not going to eat you guys?
Yes, it's this part. They are terrified that she is going to eat them.
And she's like, I'll control myself.
She really doesn't help it because at first she's like, well, no, I won't scratch you with my claws or anything like that. And they're like, but are you going to eat us? And she's just like, no, I mean, I wouldn't eat like my friends unless I was like really hungry, then I might eat them. And it's like, they just start backing up and like Grandpa Almond's like, we have to trust them. There are the hero's friends. They're not going to hurt us. And they're like, you turn around and like Grandpa Almond's like a mile away. They're like, why are you back there then, bitch? Like, move up. And he's like, I was just standing here. It's not like because I wasn't trusting.
I'm just, the breeze is better back here.
It's over. Yeah. I'm old. I had to go stand over here.
I'm surprised you didn't ask Nilu to just make her some snacks.
Right? But after we meet Kirara, she decides to come with us on the train. We cross on over to get to the city, and Kirara decides that she's going to leave us. She has some things that she has to do on her own. So we go to the city, and we find out that Navia is the Burger King of the city. She literally has a mustache and a crown and everything.
The mustache is so ridiculous.
We get there and they're like, you have to speak to the king, the king, the king, the king. And then all of a sudden she comes out like, and I think her voice is a little deep in tune. She's got the mustache and we're like, Navia? And then the mustache is gone. Like, she's just like, this was just me pretending. They still refer to her as the king. It's so silly.
Yeah. She must have bought it at the same place Paimon got hers when she was Detective Paimon.
I hope everybody gets fake mustaches in this game at some point. Like, I hope it's just a gag. They just continue.
Like, imagine Lisa with a mustache.
Oh my God, stop. I die. But when we get there, we start talking with Navia. We find out that she also was reading a book to some kids and she ended up here. And Navia is basically like, here's the situation. This is what I figured out. There was a dragon here. The dragon was stealing the stars from the sky, started dropping them around the city. The people are not happy. We also learn from Navia that the goddess of prophecy made sure to protect the people here and seems to manipulate time in a way in order to protect them. And the people of the city see this as a gift, and they have found that the gift, quote unquote, has been really active lately, and they're really not sure why. And so this is when you start to walk around the city and you see all these like characters who are stuck in gum, and you can go up and like rewind them. You can fast forward. I found some of them a little confusing personally, but they were cute and fun.
Yeah, they're little toy guys, like little toy soldier kind of weeble wobbles.
It's just lousy with mini puzzles, just like all over the town.
I love when the little toy guys are stuck by gum on a wall. It's like, how'd you get up there, buddy? It's so cute. But we have to do a lot of things. I mean, we had to in the forest too, where we had like strings we had to pull to do things. And it's kind of the same type of thing. Like, we know they're toys of some sort, you know, because they have like, there's a key that we have to turn to be able to make things go up and move around. And while the story goes along, there are a lot of puzzles and little side stories that you learn about some of the people and stuff like that that's going on. There's like a murder investigation. It's great.
Yeah.
They have Timmy.
Yes. They do have Timmy.
They have like a Timmy like dupe in there. That was my favorite. But so we find out through Navia that if we turn a special gear, we can actually restart the stars. But first we'd have to collect all the stars that the dragon dropped and then put them back in the sky. And also we learned that the people of the city really don't want that to happen because they're really afraid of losing this gift of protection because they've never known nothing else. But Navia whispers in our ear and she's like, don't worry, I'm trying to change their minds. So she decides to take us up to the Astral Garden, which is where there's a statue of Barbie, Barbeloth, Bee, Old Hag, Goddess of Prophecy.
It's a huge ass statue too.
It's a giant statue. She looks like Mona, but tall from The Incredibles. And while we're on our way up there, we find all the stars and we run into Olivier and Bizert. And they're two toys that are not fucking into this. And they're not happy that we want to move this gear.
No, they are not.
They eventually run off. And God knows what they're going to do. And Navia's like, it's okay, just let them be. So she introduces us to the Aerial Express found in the Astral Garden.
Wonder what they're mirroring there.
Oh, you know.
I was like, did you serious? You just call it the Aerial Express. I was annoyed but tickled because I like a good pun. But I was like, damn it, why you gotta put these things in there? It's just the summer event. Why you gotta bring Honkai?
It was a fun Easter egg, I felt like.
It was so fun because it kind of like the wheels on it like glowed like the same color as the Astral Express when it takes off, and it went up into the sky, specifically into the stars. Come on, guys. We were returning the Stellarons to the sky.
The Stellarons.
Yes, that's what I felt in my soul, Brandon.
Paimon was skeptical about getting in the Aerial Express because she's like, wait, this train flies? And we're like, bitch, you fly.
Literally.
What are you afraid of? And then she's like, I don't know if I can go up in that. And they're like, if something were to happen, you can just fly off the train. Like, you're gonna be fine.
Literally.
I love it that she always has to be reminded that she can fly.
Yeah.
She's always like, oh yeah.
Also, Nilu is with us still at this point, and Nilu is like, sorry guys, I'm not going in the train. Because if we remember last year's summer event, she got sick on the roller coaster.
Oh yeah.
She's not here for this. She knows where she could go and where she can't go.
She's like, riding across the water is fine. The air, no.
Yeah, you'd think with all her spinning around, she would have a stronger stomach.
Oh, she's in control of that.
True, very true.
But we go up into the sky in the Aerial Express, which has not been used in hundreds of years, and we return the stars to the sky. So now, hypothetically speaking, if we can get the people on our side, we can turn this giant ass gear, which, by the way, when they said a gear, I thought it'd be like, I don't know, like the thing you use to turn the hose on outside.
Like a faucet?
Yeah, like I thought it'd be like a tiny gear. This thing was huge.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to move the whole sky.
You don't want to accidentally hit into it and budge it, and all of a sudden, oh no, gear turned.
Where's the Teyvat version of that gear? Anyway, it's somewhere in Mondstadt. Anyway.
I did not think of that at all. The sky's fake. Of course there's a gear.
Wander's like, I told y'all in 1.1, but none of y'all listened.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And here I am back again.
Everyone's like, what's 1.1? And he's like,
yeah.
He's like, oh, you know so little.
He literally runs in the official and she's like, hi, nice to meet you. And he's like, oh, you forgot they tried to kill you once.
You did yourself out of Irminsul. Of course you forgot. It's like the rest of us who didn't play then.
But so we're trying to contemplate what to do, and Olivier and Bizert return. And they are begging us not to turn this gear. And Navia's like, okay, we won't do this, but how are you going to fix the fucking problems in the city? You're going to raise taxes? Like, what are you going to do? And they have nothing that they can offer as a solution. And that, like, switches things in Bizert's head. And he's like, you know what? Fine. You could do this. And Olivier's like, you fucking traitor.
Yeah.
And he's really mad.
But Navia kind of like explains it like, think of like the goddess is like your mom. And she's saying, okay, now it's time to grow up and do your shit yourself. I ain't gonna fucking clean your room anymore.
Listen, Olivier doesn't know what laundry is.
No, they do. They eat socks and like oil.
Ew.
So the other ones are drinking ink, and these ones have socks and I think it's grease because they gotta like shine themselves up. I just did a shine shimmy in my chair that I wish you could have seen because it was fantastic.
Throwing more Mora at Tiff now. I'm like, stop.
It's a shine shimmy.
But it's time to turn the gear. And guess what? It takes literally every regular sized person there to do this. Not the toys. They're a little small. Although I do think they help, but I can't imagine how much help they actually provided. And so we turn the gear and the stars are back in the sky and everything is right in the world, apparently. And so Navia is trying to decide what to do to help the people. She decides that she's going to form a new branch of the Spina here to help them all get unstuck from the gum and the pauses and everything like that. And she puts Bizert and Olivier in charge, which was a interesting turnaround for them. They went from just being angry little toys to being in charge of something.
Yeah, she was all about empowering them.
Like a good mom.
A good mob boss.
A good mob boss. So now it's at this point that we're like, all right, we still have one thing to do. We have to go fight the dragon. And we're like, fuck, all right, final journey. Let's go. So we get on a different train with the same conductor.
Wheel is a busy man.
Same duck.
Same duck, you can still touch him.
And there's like a weird side quest there where like you find like treasure too. I don't know if you guys did that. There's like a leaf pile, and if you blow it away, there's like some treasure of some guy there.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple things like on the beach too at that point. Like along with the puzzles, there are a lot of like little hidden things in there.
For sure. A lot of like cute little mini lures. So we decide to go fight the dragon, and we get on the train and everything's going well. And then, whoa, there's no train tracks and we're going a badillion miles per hour. So our train goes off the edge.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we all go flying.
Oh no.
And when we close our eyes, we hear a voice telling us to go and see the world and be nice. And the voice says that they're leaving it to us. And we're like, huh? And so it flashes forward to the traveler being asleep in Nilu's lap. And Nilu and Wanderer and Navia are all talking. And it's really funny because Wanderer and Nilu are kind of arguing while the traveler's passed out. And they're like, what are we going to do? Should we wake the traveler? And Navia's like, let them sleep. They've had a rough few days. Like, that really scared them. And then Nilu's like, yeah, that's easy for everyone to say. But Wanderer, or I guess Hat Guy, put the traveler on my lap.
Mhm.
And Wanderer's like, sorry if I decide to give them a soft place to land. And I was like, what is happening right
Yeah.
now?
Well, it's not like he could put us on his lap. He's made out of wood.
Stop. No, he's a real boy now.
But instead of just putting him on the ground, we're like, here, lean on Nilu. And she's like, my legs have fallen asleep.
He's like, she has real legs, not puppet legs.
Also, he's flying still at this point, so
Yeah.
he's like, I had to drop them somewhere. Also, Wanderer says that we're adorable in this moment, just so you guys all know. It was a fact.
Yeah.
He said that we were sleeping
Mhm.
so adorably or something like that. It was so cute.
But also tells us that like there's in this area some like hallucinogenic in the air. So it's, it's not surprising that we like heard voices and stuff and like passed out from it. And it's like, well, that just kind of happens. Nobody else was like, yeah, I was all fucked up too.
Which is so interesting because knowing that Durin is the dragon, right? It makes me wonder if dead Durin in Teyvat is also doing that to people, because we know there's a lot of stories about Dragonspine, about how scary it is, how you shouldn't travel there alone, how like the monsters are super strong from the blood. But if we go back to like the Suspedo event, like we almost feel like we're being walked in circles in certain points. And Bennett specifically says that he just kept getting lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, if Joel's dad is Joel's dad and not Whoppy like we think, he also makes it sound like he kind of was walking around blind.
Well, I always took that as being because of the abyssal corruption, because it really like messes with people.
Oh, so do we think that this hallucinogenic effect happening in Simulanka is supposed to be a parallel to the abyssal effect on people?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
But we wake up and Wanderer is like, yeah, I don't know. I woke up and I heard a voice and they were telling me to be a hero or some shit. And I have this sword now. And we're like, oh, so you're the hero of this world, not us.
Mhm.
Got it.
Rude.
But he didn't get a whole ass outfit. He just got a sword.
He just got a new outfit.
Yeah, but I mean, nobody else knew that.
He knew.
Also, what are they going to call him if he didn't have the hat?
True.
Oh my God, imagine they gave him a hatless outfit. They'd be like, hey, guy.
But that's the point too, though. Navia doesn't have her hat on at points too in her little outfit thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I loved that.
She was non-hat Navia.
Yeah, I was like, she looks so much better without the hat.
Oh my God.
Non-hat having Navia.
Also, you said you brought up Navia's outfit. Did you guys see Taylor Swift's outfit at the MTV Music Video Awards?
No, I didn't.
She's Navia without the hat.
I mean, Navia does kind of look like Taylor Swift, so I could see it.
It's kind of crazy. We'll have to put that on the website. Anyway, we sit there and we chat and we decide that we're going to go find and fight the dragon together. And we start to hear more stuff because we fall again, which is annoying. And Wanderer has to save us again. And he gives us a lot of sass. He's like, I'm not going to catch you next time.
That's like you are. Just shut up. Just keep picking us up.
Yeah.
We almost fall again and he does not catch us. So
Get it together, Weasel.
yeah, get it together. But so we have another little memory, and it seems like we're listening to M and B, and they're talking about inviting Durin into Simulanka. And it seems like one of them, we don't know who is who at this point, is apprehensive, while the other one is saying that we need to invite him here to make his own story. So we wake up, we get sassed by Wanderer. And we find that he seems to have a connection to the dragon all of a sudden and an understanding of the dragon. And the first thing he says that makes you think that is he's like, after years and years of people trying to kill him, of course this dragon's ready to fight back. which is reminiscent of Skara always feeling like people were after him and abandoning him.
Yeah.
Oh, and didn't they say that Durin in Simulanka was like unlocked by miners that dug too deep? Was that a Lord of the Rings Easter egg?
I thought it was an Ashtaha.
Oh, maybe.
Because that's how he woke up, is that the miners actually dug too deep and like annoyed the shit out of him, which is what brought him back to and become a evil little child that was trying to take people over.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking like the Balrog and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no, that would make sense too, because that was the dwarves.
It actually kind of looks like Ajdaha now that you bring it up. I'm like, is Ajdaha based on the Balrog?
Maybe.
Anyway, just a random side note.
I like too that while we keep falling, Navia actually equates our fall into another page inside the book. Like we're aware of the fairy tale at this point. And it was just kind of an interesting way to say, like, you know, even with they dug too deep, it was that the miners were digging too deep and they went into another page in the book.
Oh, yeah.
Which I just thought was really interesting, especially because we're in all these layers now as we keep falling. And the idea that it's not, because as you keep going, it's like the scenes change. But as you get all the way to the bottom, it's kind of like that fake little area, like that unconscious area that has like some sparkles and stuff. But it's like when you're in like Stranger Things and you go inside Eleven's head and it's just darkness, that kind of place.
Uh-huh.
Oh, not a Stranger Things reference. I was like, who's 11? It took me, I was like, not, like, listen.
So now where you thought I was
that
going?
show from a decade ago?
Yeah, where the fuck's that season?
We got years before it comes back.
No, don't say that. Anyway, so Wanderer starts to have this connection with the dragon. The dragon's big and evil and made of blocks and ooh, scary. And Wanderer ends up entering a black mist, where he then overhears a conversation between M and B. B says that Durin will be abandoned by his creator, and that's why M wants him to have this like happier ending in Simulanka. In which case, he's starting to listen to this convo, and Wanderer goes, ugh, more boring fate talk. I'm like, bro, calm down. Like,
and of course, they're referring to Gold, Rhine-daughter, who created the original Teyvat Durin, and then I guess abandoned him.
Which is so sad because we've never really known where Durin and Gold like really left off. Like, was she just like, fuck, my guy's dead? Or was she like, oh, fuck, I guess he's dead? And now we know it's the latter, and it makes me hate her even more.
I love that there was like almost no difference in what you just said. Like, oh, fuck, my guy's dead. Or like, oh, fuck, that guy's dead.
But you felt it.
Yeah, I did.
You knew what I meant. So then Durin actually during this calls M his mom, which is so sweet, but also very like, ooh, but Gold is your mom. Little as you fucking know. You don't even know who she is because she's not a goddess in this world. She might be Nilou. So while Skara is listening to this conversation, seeing what happened to Durin IRL, Skara goes, oh, so in the end, you were betrayed too. And then he goes, oh, and so you're hated by people too. And we see this really interesting parallel, not just between Skara and Durin, but between Nahida and M as kind of their stand-in parent and their like stand-in mentor. So we're seeing how both of them had like this like sweet soul kind of step in to help them.
Yeah, after their OG mom pieced out.
You're right.
But at this point, we don't actually know solid. So it's not solidified that it's Durin. We know it's a dragon. And I understand that most people probably realized at this point that it was Durin. But in my head, this was all fucking about Scaramouche. It was all about these voices. I didn't even go to the point that it was all the Hexenzirkel at that point. I was like, are they talking about when Raiden made the puppet? And then I was like, because the whole story seemed so much like Wanderer that I just blocked everything else out of my brain and was convinced the whole thing was about him and like, which I guess it was about his betrayal and all those types of things. But I missed... I missed it. I
really thought it was going to be Elinus or Elinus, however you say its name. I really thought that was going to be the dragon.
Really?
We just learned about it in Fontaine, and this is like in between Fontaine and Natland. So I thought they would go with that one. So I was not expecting Durin, although I knew I was like, this is something Gold created. So it's got to be one of the two, unless there's like another dragon we don't know about that she created, which is possible.
I went even as far as going, did Gold create Scaramouche and not Raiden? Like in my head, she actually created him for Raiden because we don't really know how she made a puppet. And I'm like, well, because Gold made the puppet.
Yeah.
I had a whole theory.
You're like furiously scribbling in your notebook, like, the pieces are coming together.
Crumple it up and throw it out the window because I was so wrong.
Meanwhile, I'm over here like, I could have sworn one of the goddesses in their conversation said Durin. I thought we knew it was Durin already.
I don't think so. I don't think we knew it was Durin because like Wanderer realizes it and he's like, almost like, I know who you are. Like it was like a very like Twilight, like say what I am. Just say the word. Like it felt like that kind of a thing.
Oh, maybe I had just seen something already that was Durin then.
You better stop reading them spoilers on Twitter.
But I try to avoid them so much.
I know. It's impossible sometimes.
And not for nothing, Brandon. But Brandon changed
I
his
prefer
profile
old hag,
picture.
thank you.
Not for nothing, old cockroach hag. You changed your profile picture on Discord to Mini Durin way before anyone finished it.
But you didn't know who that was.
I had to look it up. I was like, who the fuck is this?
You're like,
you didn't have to look it up.
Google's image searching that my avatar from Discord.
So confused.
I was just waiting to run into little tiny dinosaurs or something. I thought we were going to see like a prequel to the Saurians over in Simulanka.
Yeah.
I thought you were a freaking Natlon spoiler.
Yeah. I don't look nothing up. Look, I was convinced it was all, you just heard everything that I thought. I didn't put any of this together. And when it was one of those, when they said Durin, my mouth dropped. I went, oh, shit.
Yeah.
It was like the mirror and the Kari Bear kind of, like, that was my reaction. Like, you remember when you saw the part of the Kari Bear story in the Archon Quest and you look in the mirror? That was my same reaction to finding out it was Durin. Which I was very glad that I didn't get spoiled because, I mean, I was childlike, likely in that moment.
Oh, no.
You were a resident of Simulanka.
I was Almond.
You were Almond.
I was Almond. Oh, Grandpa Almond and Old Hag.
Mm-hmm. You're such a load of paper mache.
And so, they have all these comparisons. And Durin goes, I wish I had never been born. And Scar is like, what? How fucking weak. He says, no one can tell you who you are or deny your true feelings. And he says, like, show your true self to us or something like that. And he goes, Durin. And in that moment, Durin recognizes his name and he slips, like his paws kind of slip on some like crumbling wall because we're now out of the mist and back to this fighting ground with all the other people. And Durin and Skara fall to the ground. We almost fall as well, but Ki Ra saves the day, not Wanderer. Wanderer ends up being okay, and he brings us down to the study of the goddess of fate.
Can we go over these goddesses and like what they do? Because there's fate, we have fate, prophecy, and creation, right?
Yeah.
So Alice is the goddess of creation. So she created Simulanka using the story that Anders' daughter, the goddess of fate, wrote, right? So Anders' daughter writes the story. She like writes the world. Alice creates it. And then Barbalov, I'm a little like iffy on like what her role is. Like I know that she sort of laid out everyone's fate in a way. And then doesn't Anders' daughter just sort of make sure everyone stays on track with like what's supposed to happen to them? So she's like nudging people to do like what they're fated to do.
Yeah, I mean, the goddess of fate, I mean, she wrote it all, so she knows their fate. But I think Barbalov, they go there to actually like wish to her too, I believe. Like while I think like, so think of it like M is the one who wrote out their paths, but like all the little toys and stuff can go to Barbalov and be like, I want to be an adventurer. And she would grant their wishes.
Oh, I saw it so different.
Oh, really?
I'm probably really wrong. Just throwing that out there. But I kind of saw it as M wrote like the backstory to a world that she wanted to create.
Mhm.
And then Alice created that world for her, but she didn't really have an ending in place for the world and a story in place for the world because she kind of brought Durin in like this, you will make your own fate type of thing. And I felt like Barbalot's role in it was really kind of scrying and saying what their fate should be and being like, you sure you want to bring them here?
Mhm.
Because this is their fate. And then M was like, yeah, because things can be different here. Because M kind of says some things when we go down to her study where she's like, I think that the people of Simulanka will one day make their own fate.
Yeah.
And she also says like how she knows she's going to die and that the people will continue on. So I almost saw it as like the fate of this realm of Simulanka relies on real world Teyvat.
Yeah, you might be right, because then M says, if you want to chat with me, come to the statue, but don't wish for anything weird.
Right. It's really interesting because, like, if you look at the Traveler, right, we've assumed that we're mirroring our siblings' journey. And it would seem that whoever has decided that we're going to mirror this journey, our sibling wants us to continue down their route. But we have our own fate line, and we can make our own decision and choose our own fate to go against what our sibling believes. And that's what Dainsleif hopes. So you have these two roads that we can go down, metaphorically speaking. And it almost feels like that's what they're showcasing was around for Durin. And that if things had gone differently with Gold, he could have had a happier, well-off fate.
Oh.
That's kind of how I saw it.
No, that's smart. I didn't even think of the fact that we would have been mirroring our sibling.
I just remember one of them when they were like talking about the roles of like the goddesses, that one of them was responsible for nudging people along and keeping them on the path that they're supposed to be on. And I couldn't remember if that was Barbaloth or Anders' daughter.
No, I can't either, but I do remember that as well.
It's annoying because like prophecy and fate are so similar inherently, but
they almost sound like the same thing.
Yeah, it's like one of them is laying it out at the beginning and the other one's like making sure they stay on track.
Mm-hmm.
It also reminded me, and I talked earlier about like how there's like parallels of the Hexenzirkel's dealings in Teyvat, and it reminded me of whichever one that it is, whether it's Anders' daughter or Barbaloth and Simulanka, like keeping people on their course. Reminded me of Nicole and Teyvat. And Nicole, for those who don't remember, is the invisible witch that can only speak to you in your mind, who like talks to us and Sumeru. Do you remember that?
Yes. And in one of the summer events, right before we go to Sumeru.
Yeah. And she like basically hangs out in Irminsul or something. So that reminded me when they were talking about whichever goddess it is in Simulanka, like having that role, it made me think like, oh, that's sort of like the Nicole role, just like how Alice in Simulanka is sort of playing the Gold role potentially. So just something to think about.
Oh, interesting. Well, let's finish the story real quick. Basically, this is where the main story starts to end. We learn that Alice is a button pusher. We learn that M calls B Barbie. And together, we all use our magical powers, and everyone's like, I'm the forest fairy, and I'm the hero, and I'm this, and I'm that. And it makes me think of that commercial. It's like, I'm Amanda. Have you seen that commercial?
No.
It's about like... I think it's about like child predators.
Oh no.
Wow.
And so it starts, it's like, I'm Amanda. And then it turns, it's like, I'm Amanda. That's like a grown man. One of my coworkers will not stop talking about it around me. And every time I walk in, they're like, it's Amanda. Like, stop. Anyway, so we help Durin become baby Durin. And Skara says that he wants to be his friend. And Wanderer tells him after he becomes baby Durin that is now his time to go into tone. And Durin's like, cool. Well, you said you were going to be my friend. So now you're going to come and help me. Skara scoffs at him. He makes Durin cry. We elbow him. And he decides, fine, I'll go with you.
And they set up a future buddy cop movie.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Starring Weasel and Minnie Durin.
We leave this cave that we're in. We leave the study. And we find Alice as a lamp on the table. Nothing out of the fucking norm there. Scares Paimon. She recognizes Durin and says, oh, you've changed a lot. And Durin also recognizes Alice's voice, which I thought was interesting. Alice informs us that she has invited some other friends to the realm. so make sure we go say hi. And that she really would like the people of Simulanka to be able to visit the real world. And I also just wanted to throw out there that Paimon yells at Alice a few times in this moment.
Mhm.
And this is like top tier irony for me. Like, Paimon, this bitch is the head honcho of the Hexenzirkel. She's gone to KFC. She might be a descender. Like, she's Klee's mom. You've met Klee.
She might be the primordial one.
And you're over here yelling at her like you're her mom.
Yeah.
Like,
But the craziest thing about that moment to me was when Paimon is like, so why did me and Traveler, we're like the only ones that didn't get assigned a role in the story like everyone else. And she's like suspects that Alice is, she's like, you're the one that sent us here, right? Like you sent us that book so that we would open it at the right time and be transported here. And Alice is like, oh, that does sound like me, doesn't it? And then like talks about herself as like someone who doesn't know what actually happened, which is so crazy because I'm like, is this supposed to be setting up the idea that she time travels and like her sending them there hasn't actually happened in her timeline yet?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Or they're like, does she have segments like and like there's a different Alice that did something? It was just very strange. Or is she just that kooky and like out of her mind that she just doesn't remember stuff?
I took it so much at face value of just her being like, oh yeah, it sounds like me. Like she was just being coy, like not that she forgot, but like, you know, because she kind of then alludes to the fact that she had us there for a purpose, and it was because that the traveler needed to be able to, as we've heard so many other times, needed to be able to like see it for it to have been real, and so it can be told to other people. But like she kind of like, it's even very Wizard of Oz of like, well, you realize you could have just left at any time too.
Yeah, you've had the power to leave all along.
I was like, just tap your little shoes and you'll be on your way. So like I feel like she knew everything. I think she was just being a little coy, like as Alice is.
I just was like really thrown by it. And I'm just reading too much into it. But I was like, why does she not remember? Why is she phrasing it as if like, oh, maybe I did do that and I just don't know that about myself yet?
That's terrifying, honestly.
Yeah.
I like the idea that she was just playing dumb. It makes my head hurt less.
Yeah, I know.
But we finished talking to Alice and we get into our post event where we get to go and visit with some of our friends. And so the first friends we meet are Kaya and Jean over at the tavern. Shocking.
This moment was so scandalous to me because I really felt like Kaya was flirting with Jean.
Oh, 110%.
I'm like, whoa, how are you going to do that to your brother?
His brother scarred him for life, literally.
But still, everyone knows that he and Jean are into each other.
Okay, I didn't want to do this.
Oh.
But I really think, okay, so you know how like right now there's been a trend with that Chapel Rowan song that's like, Brandon, you might not know because you're not on TikTok, but Tiff will know. There's a trend with the Chapel Rowan song where she's like, when you wake up next to him in the middle of the night and like you realize you're just his wife, like you're standing face to face with I told you so. And people do it with like relationships. And I kind of imagine like Jean and D-Luke getting married and then Kaya singing, you're standing face to face with I told you so because we could have been together. I've been actually kind of into Kaya Jean lately. Like it's bad. I know. I kind of like the idea that like when D-Luke left, they like found comfort in one another type of thing.
Right.
And Kaya really does act as Jean's second in command for the most part. So I'm just like,
it's very soap opera. Like it's very classic. Like torn between two brothers. The sexiness. I can't handle it.
Sounds like the perfect fanfic to me. I'm into it, but yeah, they do seem very flirty. But the most important part is that Kaya drinks the toxin. I mean,
the ink.
What did the tonic?
Tonic, the magic tonic. Paimon's like, yeah, go ahead, drink it. You're gonna love it. Go ahead.
His face is everything.
I love mischievous Paimon.
And then Jean is like, you know what? I think I'll pass. I'm not gonna have a drink after all. And Jean is a little worried as well during this time. And Kaya goes, don't worry about Klee. She's without Beto. She'll be fine. And I just imagine it flashing to them like blowing shit up. But it didn't, which was good. That's really that. Then we go and run into Kale. And I think that was a cute nod because Kale came with us last summer, just like Kaya did. And she's pretty impressed by everything she's seeing. She's taking all these notes because she can't wait to go and tell Master Tignari about this. We noticed that there's like a few houses in the area that weren't there before, and Kali tells us that Hakai and Durin made them. And so we're kind of like, how are the people around Durin? She's like, well, the atmosphere kind of changed, but they said there was like past misunderstandings and that they're going to plan a welcome party for Durin. So it seems like the people of Simulanka are open to Durin being like a cool person.
Do you think that Durin's apology tour around Simulanka will inspire Wanderer to do an apology tour into that? Even though I know people don't remember him, but like he remembers. Like, do you think he'll be inspired to like try to sort of make amends for like some of the messed up stuff he did as Scaramouche?
That's if Nahida lets him.
No.
I don't either. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Well, I think that, and this is alluded when we meet our last bunch of people, I think he is going to be doing his apology tour in a different way. Dealing
with Durin when he gets resurrected. Yeah.
I also just wanted to say, because you brought up like people not remembering Skara, there is an amazing TikToker who cosplays as Skara, Heizo, Kazuha, Traveler, and Child, all for this like story they've been telling on TikTok about like Skara, Wanderer, and Heizo being like a throuple.
Mm-hmm.
He erases himself from Irminsul in it, and like he's able to bring back Heizo and Kazuha's memories, and it's really sweet.
Oh.
Yeah, it made me cry a little bit.
Well, then he couldn't bring back Tomo?
Well, no, because he wanted to date Kazuha, and
That's
Tomo
messed up. If you
haunting.
really love Kazuha, bring back Tomo.
No.
Just say. It's not great. Feeney's like, it's not great. It's curiosity.
Facts. Thank you, Paimon, for the inspo. So we leave Kale and we go and we find Mona, who is staring at this statue of the old hag.
Mm-hmm.
She cannot believe how pretentious this fucking bitch is, basically. That's the tone.
But like also with respect.
Not with respect, because she's literally like, oh no, can she hear me? Because she gets chills down her back when she's smack talking.
She has respect for the fact that old hag was able to create an entire world starscape.
But has no respect for the old hag at the same time. She like hates that lady. It's like, I guess it's supposed to be like her mother, almost like a love-hate mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she's like the mean teacher that she's like terrified of.
It's so crazy.
But I still think she has like reverence for her, like a respects her power. Let me put it that way.
Okay, that makes sense. And Mona also mentions that this could be the statue looks nothing like the old hag, but could be reflective of the old hag's fashionista phase that she does mention in her diary.
Yeah.
But most importantly, we learn that when Mona first comes to Simulanka, she actually does a quick scry. And she says that fate in Simulanka is based directly on Teyvat. It's a reflection of the real world fate. And then suggests that the world we're in was probably created in a mirror or a lake and is now properly reflecting Teyvat.
Mm-hmm.
So we get back to this reflection idea. Then she says that Durin actually came to the city and apologized, and for the most part it was taken well. We ask her if she knows where Durin is currently. Mona scries, and when she scries, it actually shows Klee's constellation, which is a little sus, because at first I was like, oh, because you eventually, like, I didn't really think about this until the second watch through, because I played it and then I watched it before we recorded. But originally I was like, oh, well, maybe it was Klee's because we find out Durin's with Klee. But when I rewatched it, Mona's like, oh, and it looks like he's with a big group. So it doesn't seem like Mona knew Durin and Klee were together. So I found that a little odd.
I mean, there's definitely something interesting going on with Klee. And have you noticed that, like, in Mona's, like, story quest even, like, Klee is very involved?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Klee's like, I have that book. Mm-hmm. No, I don't.
And she talks about like how her master was a really powerful hydromancer, but that Alice is like not just good at like one thing. She's good at like all these different things. And I remember her noting that she thought it was interesting that Alice taught Klee how to make bombs, but she didn't teach her magic.
Yeah, it is very questionable.
Like, I wonder why. Like, is she just like to protect her child? Like, is not, and that's why she's not teaching her magic? Is there some like thing to worry about if Klee does learn magic? Like, who and what is Klee?
Yeah, or what does Alice know?
Also, I have a new theory, by the way, about pointy-eared characters in this game.
Oh, what is that? Because we've only met a few.
I think they're part dragon.
Oh my God. Don't tell me a Pep is Klee's dad. Oh no, can't be possible.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. I mean, we don't know. It could still be possible somehow.
I'm like really leaning into this theory. I'm like looking for any new Natland content that will confirm this. So far, it is like leading me in a good direction with it. Also, for a Star Rail tie-in, you have the Vidyadhara, who also have pointy ears and are dragon-like people.
Which is Don Hung. Langsha, is that her name? The new Alchemy Commission person?
I think so. Lingsha? Yeah.
And
Lingsha,
Bailu.
Bailu, yeah.
And that guy that Don Hung tries to kill in the recent patch.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Teyvat, you have Klee. What is her name? Chaska?
Yeah, Chaska.
Chaska in Natland. And then Pulcinella in the Harbingers.
We'll see as more Natland lore unfolds.
Interesting. Okay. So Mona points us in the right direction, and we go and we find Albedo, Fischl, Klee, Durin, and Wanderer. So now Fischl is face to face with someone who tried to murder her in 1.1, but she has no fucking idea. And Fischl starts talking first, and she's basically like, this shit's cray, but she says it in Princessin. And then Oz interprets. And it's like, yeah, this shit cray. And she's talking with Durin and Wanderer, and she says that Wanderer is Durin's servant. And he's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I am no one's servant. Then Albedo shows up, and Albedo says that we look well. And I'm like, thanks.
By the way, I love it that Fischl is, for those who believe that her story is very face value and that she really is just a regular person cosplaying. In a way, she's kind of like getting to live out her fantasy by like traveling to other worlds, a la the Fischl from the story. You know what I mean? Like she's
for the second summer in a row.
Yeah, like she's actually like doing, because the Fischl in the book that her character is based on, like, has traveled to like a bunch of different worlds. So it's fun that she's like getting to live out that sort of version of her cosplay.
And it makes me wonder if she's starting to lose sense of what's real.
She lost that a long time ago.
Yeah, she cray.
But yeah, Albedo says we look good. Thanks, boo. And then Klee is like, I'm having a blast. There's these cute animals. There's a train. There's a castle. There's boats. And it's so cute because it seems like Albedo basically has been taking Klee on a field trip all day. And then Klee's like, my mom's amazing, because she says everyone's amazing. Klee then has the moment where she's like, Durin, because your mom and my mom are friends, that makes you my big brother. Mm-hmm. And then she asks Albedo if she has permission to go and play with Durin. And Albedo's like, yeah, just don't go far. And then Durin turns to Wanderer and he's like, do I have permission to go play with Klee? And he's like, yeah, fuck off, whatever. And then Klee is like, Fischl, do you want to come play with us? And she says some crazy shit in Princessin. And Oz is like, yeah, she said we could play hide and seek, and she's it. And I was like, what just happened?
It was really cute.
It was.
It makes you question a little bit Fischl's age, that she's like, let's go play hide and seek.
I don't know, I can play hide and seek.
You want to play hide and seek, Tiff?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, as we got older, we called it manhunt.
Yeah, I liked manhunt.
It was still hide and seek, though.
Yeah, but you like hid illegally in people's yards.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, like looking back, it probably wasn't smart.
Depends on how rural the area is and if they have guns in their house.
They totally did. I was scared looking back. And then Albedo is like, back to our conversation to Wanderer, because apparently they were in the middle of a big adult conversation, and now that the kids are all gone, they can have it. And Albedo is talking about a prophecy, and so is Wanderer, and they said that the prophecy is basically that Durin will one day rise from the dead. And Albedo says, yeah, to be honest, like that checks out on Dragonspine too. I've been watching Durin's heart grow, and it seems to have a lot of vitality. And from a lot of the crazy shit that's been happening on Dragonspine, I think that we should be planning for the worst.
Yeah. He hopes that the version of Durin that rises from the dead won't be evil, but he says that we all need to be prepared for it, the worst case.
He's hoping that what happened in Simulanka will reflect into Teyvat, And that
Mhm.
as long as the right group of people are there, Durin will come back good.
Doesn't he say that he hopes Mini Durin and Wanderer will help us?
Yes. And Wanderer seems very perplexed by this.
Yeah, very interesting. Really also setting up Wanderer Hat Guy to be a major player even more than he already has been.
You know what I find really interesting about the characters that they keep setting up to be major like this? I feel they've painted, besides obviously the Archons, but Skara, Albedo, Wanderer. I feel like at this
Mona.
Mona, and I feel like even at this point, like Linny too has been suggested that he's going to be some bigger piece when it comes to the stuff with like Arlecchino. So many of those are huge ether ships. Like Albedo, Skara, Zhao, and Linny are like probably in the top 5 ether ships.
Hmm.
And I think that's so funny because it's like we obviously ship them because we do whatever we want as, you know, fans of the game. But
Mhm.
I think that the flirting we're seeing and the stuff that people assume is flirting is really just like the traveler forming a bond with these characters.
Mhm.
And they're purposely saying, hey, look at Wanderer. Look at the way he treats the traveler. He's willing to bullshit around and call him adorable. Not because he loves him, but because he's going to be willing to sacrifice himself in the end. Same with Albedo. Same with Zhao. Linny. These are people who are going to, I think, end up like attempting to sacrifice themselves minimally
Mhm.
in the game.
Here we go. They're gonna die.
It makes sense though. People are picking up on those little subtle hints that are there, and that's what's actually creating more of those ships. You know, we're just reaching out there and kind of grabbing what's in the ether about
No.
ether.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, it's been a nice run. I'm glad we got one episode into season 5, but the podcast is ending right now.
No, you just have to throw it back at Tiff and tell Tiff that ether is the level up material in Honkai Star Rail to level up the characters.
Oh God.
And they always bringing up the word ether in that game. Always. But anyway, they have this conversation and Klee ends up running over and telling us that there's a boat. We go over to the boat. Conversation about the prophecy ends. We don't want to ruin the kids' time. And we go over to this boat and it doesn't have a name. And Albedo's like, yeah, typically you name a boat and it's like aspirational or it's named after someone important. And Wanderer says, we should name the boat Durin. And they name it Durin, and that's how the plot ends.
Mm-hmm. And they go off on their little boat. But that's when Mini Durin's like, I want to see your world, Hakai. Like, can I just come with you? And because now everybody in Simulanka is actually free to leave and see the other worlds, which we know the other world is Teyvat, but they kind of make it sound like there's a potential of other worlds too.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Alice is the one that is like powerful enough to make Simulanka accessible to other worlds, which it's like, what?
The cute part is though that afterwards too, so now when you're all done and you're just back in the regular Teyvat and stuff, you can go see our cast of characters again, and you see Wanderer with Nahida in the academia, and like Nahida's kind of like busting him like, you seem like you're in a really good mood lately. You know, there's like the voice of Mini Durin, like, who is this? And he's like, all like, you know, whatever. Yeah, I'm in a good mood. It's fine.
So cranky.
And at the same time, like, you can go see Nilu, and she's on the stage in the Grand Bazaar, and all the origami animals are now their real life counterparts.
Oh, cute.
They're like actually frogs and squirrels, and it's so cute.
Oh, that's neat. I didn't do that. That's fun.
Yeah, Nilu has to tell this dog not to eat them. So it's very reminiscent of Kurara.
Oh, yeah. I think I did do that now that you mentioned that. No eating your friends.
Yeah, you can't eat your friends. Kurara just is kind of like, when we run into her, she's like, look, I can still wear this outfit here. Like, isn't that awesome? And Navia is like having tea with Clurin and Chiori over at the one cafe in Fontaine, and she's telling them the whole story, and the two of them are like, yeah, this happened.
They're like, crack.
Yeah. So like, what you been smoking, girl?
You're like, where's the mustache?
Show us the stash.
The only thing that they believe is the fact that Navia named herself in, like, that Navia was a king. They're like, of course you were a king.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about Alice and the lamp. So Alice is talking to us in Simulanka through a lamp, And I think she says that she was drawn to the power that was emanating from the storybook after we gave like Durin these blessings. So that means that she's sort of like communicating to us through the actual storybook that was written as the inspiration for this world. And it made me think of the first time that we go to that tea party thing above Mondstadt where the Hexenzirkel would hang out. And she's talking to us through a lamp there as well, right?
Mhm.
So doesn't that make you wonder if Teyvat is just a story in a book?
I hate that.
Oh,
I hate it, Brandon.
But it would make sense, right?
it would.
Because she's like communicating to us from the outside of our world. I mean, we know that she can traverse worlds, but it specifically made me wonder, like, is Teyvat just like a fairy tale that someone wrote?
But do you think she'd leave her daughter in a fairy tale book?
Is she really her daughter? Or is she just a story? Like she gave herself a daughter in the story?
Or is Klee just like another random fucking orphan and Alice was like, actually, I'm your mother?
Yeah.
Right.
Because we know Alice loves to take in orphans. Albedo, she tried to take in Diluc. She tried to take in Barbara. Barbara's not actually an orphan, but she might as well be an orphan.
Or like maybe they're from a world that got destroyed. And so Teyvat is like, you know, the safe haven that she took her daughter to.
Alice is like sitting on a picnic bench, like in the middle, like a park, eating KFC, reading a book.
She's just in Central Park right now.
Yeah, she's just in Central Park.
She's like
sitting-
talking into her iPhone.
Yeah.
She's like, call gold.
Mm-hmm.
She has the like Teyvat lamp app on her phone.
Yeah.
No. Stop. I hate it. Oh, God, Brandon, why? But now, before we sidetrack too much from the story, there were 2 side quests that you could do as a part of this event. I know personally, I only had time to do 1. So I did not do whatever investigation stuff that you could do at Kirara in Simulanka. But I did go to Sumeru and run around trying to figure out the secret of that fucking book. Did you guys do the book thing?
The secret of the
In
book.
Sumeru?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I remember now which one you're talking about the people writing in the margins of the book.
Oh, yes, that one.
Yeah, and they were
Okay.
circling the names and everything in the book, and they all thought it had this deep meaning. And then the Kaveh is like, I just circled something, man. I was half asleep. And then other people started circling stuff, and now I don't know what to do. And then Tinyari's like, yeah, I saw that Kaveh had circled something, so I circled it. Which, let me tell you, the fact that they all know each other's handwriting is so ridiculous. But then it cuts to Sino and Sethos, and they want the book. And Sino basically tells us that he knew the whole time that it wasn't like really circled. And we're like, how did you know that? And he's like, well, Tinyari's been using the same exact pen with the same tip, with the same ink color since we were 12. And I would recognize his handwriting or his ink anywhere. And I'm like, why?
Mhm.
Why are you guys married?
I really felt like that quest was trolling us.
Yes.
Like I felt like the writers were trolling us because like they just wrote something a certain way and maybe forgot something or added a random anecdote. And then of course people like us who are total freaks are like, what does this mean?
Totally.
And meanwhile, they're like, it doesn't mean anything.
100%. That's what it felt like.
Like they are trolling us.
And let me tell you, it worked because I was like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And I loved the whole thing because I got my Sayonari crumbs and stuff like that. So it was fine.
Yeah, it was cute.
I was like, what is happening? And, like, Al-Haytham was there too. I was like, this is a lot for me. Everyone had a hand on that book. I think Candace also, or Dia, one of them also was involved.
Dory,
We were trying to buy the book from Dory,
like trying
right?
to make money. Yeah.
And basically doesn't like Kaveh just end up paying to put a new book in the library?
Yeah, I think so. It was either him or Al-Haytham, right?
I think it was Al-Haytham.
Yeah, and they keep the original one, don't they?
Yeah.
For all the trouble they caused.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because people think it's like a treasure map or some shit like that. It's ridiculous. And I was just going to ask if either of you did the Kirara quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're just kind of running around with these 3 people just trying to basically figure out whose tribe was in charge of shit in the beginning.
Mhm.
It was interesting, but it wasn't at the same time.
Yeah, I felt like it was of little consequence ultimately, but
Because it just kind of like brought you around and like you just learned about some of the tribes of the toys.
Do you think that was a hint toward Natlan?
Oh, Well, there were 3.
That makes sense.
Now I'm mad I didn't play it. I just was like, I remember being so behind all summer with the summer thing. I was like, what, doing it like 2 days before it ended?
Yeah.
I was like, I need to know.
I don't think you missed too much.
No, it really, yeah. I mean, that really is the crux of it. And it was kind of like just bringing you in to be able to do that little fighting thing. Because that's where they all are, is over in that area where you had to do the fighting to get the balls. This way you could make the animals put in your teapot. That's really why I did it. I liked the other little stories that happened kind of over in the Broken Seas area, which is that second toy area where we go fight the dragon at that point. There's like all little tiny little side things that you can do. You know, a lot of them are little puzzles, but like some of them are just adorable where there's like, you know, a little toy guy like sleeping on the job. He's a miner and he's like sleeping on a job. He's got a little like leaf on his face. It's so cute. There's another one that you go and sit on the bench and it's a Forrest Gump kind of interactive thing. Like it's instead of run Forrest run, he says like run diamond run. It's really cute. And then there's at one point too, there's a lighthouse that had fallen over, which we had been a part of when we were trying to like get this one of the stars and stuff like that, one of the wish stars. And we find out that there's like these two these two little toy guys who are friends with each other, and one's like very like set in his ways and the other one's like out adventuring. Like we help bring back the lighthouse and stuff, but the one friend convinces the other to go adventuring, and randomly in Fontaine afterwards, if you went by the crafting bench where that little clock, there's crates and stuff, and then you could hear them talking to each other because they made it over to Fontaine, and it was just cute.
Oh yeah,
I was so mad I missed that, and Tiff like 3 days after the event ended was like, go to Fontaine, Amanda. And she was all proud of herself. She was like, go to Fontaine, go see what you're gonna see. And I was like, there's nothing here.
Yeah,
it was so sad.
It was sweet. Did you go to the hidden cave that had all the summer event little treasures from each summer event? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no,
like,
that
memorabilia.
sounds so cute.
I thought you did that one. Remember, you followed like the statues over in the Broken Sea. You were following the little wish things, and all of a sudden it like sucked you up, and you went to a room underneath. I thought you did that one, Amanda.
I like got halfway through the thing with the statues, and then I couldn't figure it out. And like the clock struck midnight, and it reset.
You can YouTube it. It's
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Was it Alice who was collecting those? I assumed it was Alice, but
I think so.
it was funny because I was like remembering stuff that I forgot, like the talking boat from Inazuma.
Oh my god, that was so funny. And the talking squirrel too, right?
Yeah, there was a talking squirrel in that one.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll put a link on the page as well to that, because I have a video of it. Not my video, but I have somebody else's of it, that so you can go see it, see all the little fun things that were underneath there. Can't give you the primos that you missed, but give you the
Damn
video.
it.
One other little cute thing that I liked, and it's not really even a story, but there was like one of the puzzles you had to put together was for this one squirrel, and it makes a heart, and the little squirrel that like he made it for is just like, that's nice. And then she like sees like one of like the little gopher miners like on the other place, and she jumps over there and she's all like happy to see him, and the little heart breaks. And I was like, oh, it was so cute. And he was just like, oh, I guess I have to try harder. Poor little guy. There were a lot of those little cute little things that were just kind of like spread around after you were done with the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a great summer event. But we've been talking a lot about Kirara, and she actually was here yesterday, and she dumped a huge pile of mail on my front steps, and I told her I only wanted 2 letters and that she had to take the rest with her. She was not happy with me, but she was wearing her new fit, and I complimented her, so I think it kind of worked.
They're like letters like falling out of her leggings.
Yes, and out of her hat.
Her Nekomata and boots.
So we do have 2 messages this week from travelers. Our first message comes from Travo, and they said, which Genshin characters would you like to see in an animated fight? It could be 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, whatever you want. Dodore, Tinyari, and Sino. I want to see those 2 kick the shit out of the doctor so bad. That's all I want in life. I would die happy.
That's a good one.
That's hard. Everyone that's jumping in my head are ones that we've seen. Like we talked in our last season too about how great the Sino-Sethos fight was, because we really got some good animation in there. And like, I'm kind of like, who would I want to see in like something cinematic like that? And I have this weird, it's my own personal ship that nobody else I think has ever said it ever.
Well, you're the anti-shipper, so this is
I'm the
weird.
anti-ship. Yeah, I'm the anti-shipper, but this was my original ship. Was Rosaria and Shenhe.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have to go with them. As long as after they fight, they can kiss.
I'm dead.
In the spirit of this episode, I'm going to say Wanderer and the Righted Shogun.
Ooh.
Oh, I would love to see that, honestly.
And then they could do like a fun twist where it's like, you don't even know for a lot of it if it's like the Raiden Shogun puppet or if it's A.
Yeah. Oh, that would be good. I like when you actually go fight Wanderer's actual like boss over in that world. If you go as Raiden, if you die, he says something to you like, like, not again, Beelzebub, you won't win. It's like something like that. It's kind of funny. Only if she dies, though.
Right.
What about you? Oh, well, you said.
I already said mine. I'll repeat it, though. I really want to see Dodorai get his ass handed to him by Sino and Tignari. Although I was with you, Tiff, the first thing I thought of was a fight we'd already seen, which was Albedo versus Susbedo. I was like, I loved that fight sequence.
That was a good one, too.
I would like Kali to be in that fight too and maybe get like the last hit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
As like payback for her trauma.
All right. Well, thank you, Travo, for your message. Our next message comes from Moon, and they said, not sure if this was asked yet, but if you could give a 4-star character an animation burst, who would it be and what kind of animation would they have? Oh, what was that noise, Tiff?
Well, because I always have to go back to my OG girl, Rosaria, because I was a Rosaria main for the longest time, and she still comes back to my party. She can't perform like some of the newer girls,
She can't perform. Are you shaming her?
No, she's got a little, long in the tooth. She's my OG though, so I would love to see her have some kind of animation that would like use her little crazy freaking nail things that she has on.
Ooh,
she has those like knives on her nails, basically. That would be cool.
I'm going to say Fischl because I feel like there's a lot of potential with Oz and like doing some kind of really cool like mega goth moment where she like summons Oz or sees through his eyes and there's just like lightning everywhere. Like it could be something like that's really spectacular to look at.
Ooh, okay. I like these. I'm going to say Kaya. And I think it'd be really cool if Kaya had a burst that kind of showed you what's like, you got to like look in his eye type of thing. Like his eye that's covered by the eye patch and like you could see his past or something or like see like some weird like Conrian thing, That'd be super cool. It kind of makes me think of Welt's Eidolons in Star Rail. Is that, or is it his like when you get him, his splash art that shows like all these past versions of himself surrounding him? Like, I'd like to see that in, like, Kaya's eye. That'd be cool. Like, his ancestors.
Interesting. I'll throw out one more, too.
Ooh.
Noelle. And I would love it for her to be, like, doing something, like, really apologetic or clumsy. Like, scrambling for approval. Like, something comedic,
Like, checking, like, off a list and realizing that a box is missing.
Yeah, or just, like, activating a shield that knocks something over and then she like sweeps it up with the dustpan and a broom, like just something whimsical and funny.
Oh yeah,
we don't really get much of that in the animations. I mean, we get whimsy, but we don't get like comedic ones really.
No, that's for sure. Well, thank you, Moon, for your question. Thank you, Travel, for your question as well. I do think that's all the time that we have for today. Unfortunately, there was a lot to unpack today, so I'm sure we'll end up talking a lot more about this event as the season goes on, too. We always seem to pick things that end up being themes by accident.
I know. I've been wondering, like, what's the theme of this season going to be?
I don't know. Albedo saying we look cute.
Yeah. How many compliments can we get from the characters?
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to start a counter. It's 2 already. Wanderer and Albedo both called us adorable or good looking. So we're winning.
Yeah.
But travelers, if you liked this episode or you didn't, you can feel free to email us at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think or to let us know what topics you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, you can follow us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. to stay up to date on everything we're doing or to reach out to us and let us know some questions. If you're really interested in getting to talk with us, you can join our joint Genshin Discord server that we have with the Shade Chamber podcast. And you can join that server by going to bit.ly/Shades of Teyvat. Please note, though, this is an 18+ server. Additionally, if you'd like to help make sure that we have enough energy to get through these events and get through these episodes, feel free to buy us a cup of coffee on Ko-fi. So fun to say. Of course, there is no requirement for that unless you really want to see me do something wacky. We can make promises if you want. Maybe. Otherwise, safe journeys. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Bork, 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 nerds.
No! Bork, 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 bork.
That we just found the theme of this season.
Bork, bork,